Call to order the January 11th, 2024 meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Millie, could you do a roll call?
Commissioner Chacharoni?
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty?
Present.
Commissioner Gasiari? Not there yet. Commissioner Stratton? Commissioner Turner? Here. Commissioner Samaro?
Here.
We have 4.
I need to abstain on the minutes for the, voting on the acceptance of the minutes for the December 21 meeting because I wasn't here, so we'll move that to the next meeting. To request a reasonable accommodation or interpretation or submit, wrong paragraph. Public participation. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, and in order to ensure active public engagement, the City of Worcester currently allows for both in-person and remote participation at the Parks and Recreation Commission meetings. To partake in the public participation section of this meeting, you may join us directly within the 50 Officer Manny Familiar Way, Meeting Room A. Follow the information above to join via the Teams application or direct dial the line as indicated. If you would like to raise your hand when in the meeting as a call-in user, you may dial *5. And the next item is the Assistant Commissioner's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item on my agenda is the revisions to the 2024 sports application and sports tournament application. There were a couple of questions at the last meeting, and we put some definition in there and some just some tweaks based on those comments. What you see in yellow is what we've made changes to. Some of those changes are from what we presented the last time. We are going to go up on fees on these for sports fields. We have not changed those fees since 2017. And so with that, we're going from $18. Old prices were $18 for nonprofit and $36 for profit. We're going to go to $22.50 for nonprofit and $45 for profit. And that's before 6 p.m. 36 for nonprofit and 72 for profit, 45 now to 90. So that is after 6 p.m. That is the sort of prime time peak hours. And then synthetic turf use at our currently 3 synthetic turf fields will be $125 an hour. Was $125, now going to $150. So again, we haven't changed those since 2017. Our costs have gone up, so looking to make that. Other than that, Madam Chair, there's nothing else on those. We would like a approval from the commission on those, but I'll take any questions if someone has them.
I'll make a motion to approve the permit application and fee schedule associated with it.
I second it.
We have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Chacharoni?
Yes.
Commissioner Doherty?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Samaro?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I don't have much else. It's been a little with the holiday season and other stuff going on, and not a lot of construction happening as of right now. We don't have much else. The 2 things that I did want to touch on is we're currently in the process of developing our summer youth employment program. So if you know anybody who is interested in a seasonal summer job, we will be hiring. That information should be coming out towards the end of this month, beginning of February, for both advertisement, and then seasonal jobs will start sometime in March and run from there till about November or so. And then the Worcester Common Ice Rink is operational. We've had some challenges with snow and rain and weather, but we have been operating down there Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, and that will continue as we continue into February through January into February. So scheduled to end, I think, the weekend after President's Day. And that is the end of what I have for a report, Madam Chair.
Next item is under old business, request of Mr. David Webb to speak to the commission regarding a series of issues.
This wasn't one of mine, but it says see report topics below. Are those on here? Like if someone wanted to know what Assistant Commissioner Antonelli was about to speak about today before being here, or if they wanted to reference what he was talking about, it says on here see report topics below, but just wondering, are those in here?
They're in this packet, yeah.
Yep,
See report
they're
topics?
online.
In the,
We're looking at the same agenda that was handed out online, so.
well, I understand it's available online, but I'm asking if it's in the printed out one. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I'm here for a few things. First and foremost, technical/staff communication issues. So I am referring to a few different things. First and foremost, the incident where M. Richford, on behalf of the Parks Department, was unable to open a PDF, and that resulted in Mr. Antonelli saying that the Parks Department was not aware that he wanted to be on the agenda. And so it looks like you are, correct me if I'm wrong, but addressing that by requiring people to send things with subject line agenda item? That's a question.
Through the chair, so if we back up on Mr. Webb's comment, a request came in to our office. We responded back that we were having difficulties and asked for a Word format. We had no response from the petitioner, so we couldn't have done anything more to address that situation when the petitioner didn't respond back to us. And for yes, we're trying to make sure we're clear, accepting application items to the parks email account where multiple staff have access to it in case somebody's on vacation, giving us time to be able to look at that item and put it into an agenda so that we can have the agenda posted within the 48-hour time frame.
Just to be clear, are you 100% certain that the word difficulty was used when you communicated with that person?
I don't remember exactly the word I used, but
So I've gone back and forth with-
But Mr. Webb, we still did not receive a response. So
I'm sorry, but you
in
did
that
receive
same end,
communication
Mr. Webb,
that
Mr. Webb,
interested
Mr.
around
Webb,
the top
you
on
did
the
not-
agenda.
Mr. Webb, we never received a response, so I can't work with somebody who's not going to respond back to us.
So just to be clear, you don't just require interest in being on the agenda, you require a response.
I asked for a response based on the fact that we had a problem opening up the item.
So did you only require a response in this particular situation?
Mr. Webb, you had the same problem.
No, I did
You
not.
You emailed me and
I
asked for
submitted a
something.
PDF that
I
month.
responded back to you with an item. Your email came back and says, I don't know what this is. Is this a Microsoft issue? I said, I immediately went back, put it into a PDF, and resent it to you. That communication back and forth got you the information you needed or you requested. We did not receive anything additional from the initial individual. If we had,
So
we
just to
would
be
have been
clear,
able
you
to
did
work with him
receive an
or
initial.
her to be able to address that situation.
Okay, so just to be clear, you did receive an initial email with an attachment that expressed interest in being on the agenda? And then because you did not receive a follow-up?
Through the chair, Mr. Killebrew had his meeting. We've already gone over this through one.
No, I'm trying to debate
No,
the software
I'm
issues, not
speaking,
whether
I'm
or not.
speaking, I'm speaking.
Of course, take your time.
Through the chair, we've already gone over that specific issue with Mr. Killebrew. He came in for a meeting a month later. We discussed it with him. I'm not sure why we're having this conversation anymore.
That's great.
unless
Can you
we have
can you just repeat the last line you just said one more
No.
time?
I'm not a recorder.
Okay, well, I
Excuse
think
me.
it was, I'm not having this conversation anymore,
Excuse
so
me,
we'll talk
through the
about that one
chair.
later.
Excuse me, through the chair. I'm going to make this very clear here. This is not going to be a back and forth meeting. We are going to civilly have the conversation. If this conversation keeps getting out of hand, we are not going to be here all night like this. I myself came in here and do not feel good. I am a volunteer. Some of these things I do not get paid for this, sir.
Now, I know you don't.
But laughing at it is very disrespectful. And if you cannot respect,
You're right. You have no accountability here because you're a volunteer.
no,
Keep going.
it's not a no accountability, sir. It's you need to be respectful of the other person on the other side that you're speaking to. And the manner that you're currently speaking in, and you have past spoken into each one of us in here, is disrespectful, and it really needs to be curbed. And you need to have some more tact about how you speak to us, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is, we're not gonna be doing the back and forth here tonight. I am not feeling good. I almost didn't walk through this door, okay? Because I was doubled over before I got here. So please, be mindful that we are all human beings and that we all have lives outside of here as well. And the people that sit here are volunteers. The people that sit over there are paid. We are not, okay? We are here to represent you. We do not handle personnel issues, as I've spoken on before. This is something we have nothing to do with, and we can't change.
Okay, so there's a lot in there. All of it's valid. I will make sure to give each and every one of you your turn to speak back to me. That being said, just to clarify, you did receive an interested email. This seems to be something we can't agree on. I thought we discussed it was a software issue,
Could you
technical
tell
issue.
us, like, what you're trying to get to?
Well, so the technical/staff communication issues, effectively, how do we know they're not going to happen again in isolated circumstances when nothing was done to attempt to resolve it and you don't know what happened? And it seems to be an isolated situation with one individual that was convenient to the department. So how do we know it's not going to happen again?
Well,
If you answer an email, you don't, it doesn't happen again. Just answer the email.
So in other words, you
Respond
guys
to
do
it.
require a response.
If I ask a question, you know what? Yes, I require a response of anybody I ask a question to, whether you're 2 years old or 75 years old. It's a common thing to do. What is out of the ordinary for a response if you're asked a question?
Just to be clear, what is out of the ordinary here is not accepting a submission because it was submitted in PDF.
No, it's not. If you couldn't open it, you can't open it. There's nothing wrong with asking for a different format to open it.
Agreed, but not asking for something in a different format and saying we didn't know you wanted to be on the agenda are two separate things.
No.
Okay, so I'll go into my next one. Duties of the Parks Commission. Now, again, I don't want to tell anyone how to do their job or what their job is, but I've spent a few days going through the videos of the past meetings, and I've heard you guys say what your job is a few times. And I'm going to read to you from, so this was a little background on this. I was wondering how someone with I was wondering about who the commissioners were. I was looking, and I was intrigued on wondering how long Darty had been on because he has a background in equity and diversity, and I wondered how this had survived. And I was reading, and it says, Commission duties: preserve, promote, review, and recommend policies, procedures, rules, regulations, fees for the management of public parks. And so I guess where I'm going with this is that it seems like there has been a very significant number of people in the past 3 months and at the recent special events meeting with the city, and in general, who have expressed confusion and say that it is inaccessible because of the lack of public procedures. I've asked things as you'll remember, my first meeting, it was, my first question in here was, are these available to us? And Mr. Antonelli explained to me that they were not available to the public. And I asked you a question about vehicles, and obviously, yes, that time was just targeted on a specific thing, but you had no clue either, and where I'm going with this is that your job is to make it so that all of you know how to do your jobs really well, so that all of the public knows how. So anyways, I'm going to skip to the next one, which was from, frankly, I don't know where I found this one. There were 3 different places it says what your responsibilities are. The commission is responsible for supervising maintenance, 1,200 acres, blah, blah, blah. Promulgate regulations for these facilities. I didn't know what that word meant either, so I'm not criticizing any of you if you don't, even if it is your job, but promote and make widely known is the first definition. It's also put into law or effect, but if you're only doing that, it's not really a complete use of your job. It's supposed to be a public service. So I guess what I'm really trying to say here is that on this long of a timeline, you guys cannot possibly have actually been doing your jobs right. And I'm not actually even asking a question there.
Okay, thank you.
So clarity into why, my next
You
one,
could move on to that point, yeah.
Yeah, clarity into when, why documentation for 149 West Boylston Drive was sought after the last meeting. This was, of course, from the 4-1. I have now established that there isn't any documentation of a visitor recommendation from 2022. It appears, like I said last time, that, well, actually, Mr. Antonelli acknowledged that he sought that documentation as a result of after that last meeting, which meant that when I received it in response to that public records request, it could not possibly have actually been in response because it was after the fact. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, why is there no documentation or recommendations on site visits from 2022 to 149 West Boylston Drive? And two, well, I guess I didn't put in a second one for that. That's the second document. Why is there no documentation of any of the visits? I thought you guys were responsible for this that year.
We did not document the visits.
Interesting. So just to be clear, a few meetings ago, Commissioner Turner told us that if it's not written, it didn't happen. And obviously, this is not a standard you guys hold yourselves to.
So through the chair, that is correct. If it's not written, it did not happen.
So then Mr. Antonelli did not do anything regarding 149 West Boylston Drive in 2022.
And that is something that I stand by.
Interesting. So we'll get back to that one too later.
And excuse me for just a second, just to kind of dial it back just a second, you said about the Parks Commission duties. We are the stewards from the volunteers from the community. Anything that we get or know about comes directly from the Parks Department, from the Assistant Commissioner. So if we don't get the information from the Assistant Commissioner, we don't know anything further than that, okay? The reports that we do get are the reports that are published online in the agenda, okay?
I assume the Assistant Commissioner gave you your job descriptions.
Like I said, the antagonistic behavior is not going to be tolerated.
Okay, so I think I have two things left, one of which is this, and then I'm going to get back to the old business. We're going to skip to new if you're okay with that, but if I can keep it in order if you'd rather.
Let's keep it in order, please.
You got it. So the next thing, the document you all received last week, it's the tenets of white supremacy. It's from a Tema Okun did a Harvard study, and I'm just going to go through the short version. 1, perfectionism. 2, sense of urgency. 3, defensiveness. 4, quantity over quality. 5, worship of the written word. 6, only one right way. 7, paternalism. 8, either or thinking. 9, power hoarding. 10, fear of open conflict. 11, individualism. 12, progress is bigger, more. 13, objectivity. And 14, right to comfort, usually for white people. So I spent today going through video clips from the past the meetings I was at. And I guess, obviously, you guys don't want to hear anything antagonistic. So the really short version is that every single issue the Worcester Police Department has gone completely unchecked here. You guys need to start keeping records. There's existing problems, and everyone in this room has been enabling it. Guess not everyone, sorry, you guys. But, I mean, you shake your head no, but there's...
Thank you.
Hold on. Let me address that for you. So the unchecked Worcester Police Department, I love that you brought this topic up. Because you know what? I have the same issue with the unchecked Worcester Police Department issues that go on. I have the same issues living 25 feet from a park that is consistently out of control. That's the first thing. The second thing is the fact that those calls, those things are going unchecked is the fact that there's a breakdown in communication within the city, okay? The city manager itself is the only way that we can get the Worcester Police Department and the Parks Department to work together. I have already suggested as an agenda item, along with a separate group, that there be some better communication on what goes on with the Worcester Police Department when it comes to parks and the Parks Department, and that it is taken up with the city manager, and there is more involvement with the city manager, the Worcester Police Department, and the Parks Department. There is also a few schools that sit within parks that the school committee also does need to be responsible for as well. And I have requested that this become an agenda item, okay? That is something that we have to move at the government's pace, which does not always move at the public's pace. So you're not the only person that feels like that. Us, like I've said before, as the Parks Commission, we deal with rules and regulations. We are working in that manner to ensure that we have better cross-communication between departments within the city. Okay? So as a representative, I am a little bit insulted that you feel that our job is not being done for these things that we are requesting. And you were here at the meeting in November when I requested it. So please review that tape and you will see that I requested that they do it specifically, that the school committee, the Worcester PD, and the Parks Department need better communication, specifically for that Newton Hill. And they need to talk with the city manager and get something going, because this is an overall issue with this 17,000 acres of parks.
Thank you for requesting that. Thank you for following up on that. Thank you for taking action on making sure that happens. The reason I'm talking about these tenets today, so sometimes saying nothing is better than saying something, and the reason I say that is after watching how many times in the past 3 weeks you spoke up and made it so Rob Antonelli did not have to answer a question. And I'm saying that with all due respect, that's defensiveness. And I'm not trying to say you're the problem, but what I'm trying to say is all it takes to be part of the problem is sometimes not knowing better in that very particular moment.
So let's be clear about something. I'm a person that is of, as you can tell, equal opportunity. I am a woman that is 3/4 Native American. We sit on my homeland. Do you understand me? This land runs through my blood. Where I live and own my home, I have lived for 3 generations living and still live in my home. There are 6 generations just on my block alone that have owned and being families of color in this city. Do you understand me? So the fact of the matter that you call this white supremacy behavior that I am part of is utterly disrespectful.
I think it's important.
Not only that, defensiveness, it's not defensiveness. It's right and wrong. Mr.
That's either or
Killebrew brought
thinking.
an issue to us where he said, why did Mr. Antonelli pop up at the park? We're going to put this all the way on the record so we have this clear, okay? Mr. Antonelli, as I said before, has done it before. I am not going to idly sit by as a woman of color that has gone through equity issues, okay? Please excuse me for my tone. I'm getting out of control because I'm very passionate about this. I, as a Native American woman, as a black woman, have gone through equality issues since I could remember. Being harassed by the police, other wonderful things that have happened in life. But the fact of the matter that Mr. Killebrew, a man of color, came and said that a Caucasian man popped up on him out of nowhere for no reason, and he doesn't do it to anyone else, is not a true statement or fact. And I don't care what you look like or who you are. I will not idly stand by and see you called out like that. That is utterly disrespectful. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I have my own personal issues with Mr. Antonelli and the functions of the park. That does not in any way affect what I do here on this board. Anytime I do anything citywide, Mr. Antonelli, do I mention that I sit on this Parks Commission?
Yes, you do let them know, but you do but not in that vein, no.
Not where I'm getting favors done or
No.
anything like that. Because I am a person that feels each person demands and should have the same respect as the next person that comes. Okay? So this white supremacy's behavior, it's not true. Not true.
When you spoke up, that specific time you're referring to, it did not benefit a black man in the room. It served to defend the white man who had showed up.
It does not matter. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Mr. Killebrew made a statement, and I made the second example of the fact that Mr. Antonelli did pop up on a weekend outside of park hours.
Because you called him.
No.
That's
no,
what I just watched
no,
that video earlier.
Because the issues had been relayed by more than just myself. I have neighbors.
With all due respect, it's worth mentioning that you have mentioned at 3 out of the 5 meetings I've been at that you live 25 feet from a park. I
Yes, I
understand
do.
that this is an important part of your identity as well. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to say that the opposite. Everyone here has something to learn is a really mild way of putting it.
Always, I agree with that. I always agree with that. But in the manner that you are speaking is not what you're saying. We do all have something to learn. I am always willing to learn something, number one. Number two, we here at the Parks Commission, I feel, try to represent what you want. We need to know what you want.
How can that happen when people struggle to be heard here?
I'm always willing to talk. Have I not given you my phone number?
I don't think me, but you've
Have I not given you my phone number,
you've
sir?
offered to let me talk here. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about people who struggle to get in via email.
Before we leave here today, if you feel that there's some way I can help you, not as a Parks Commissioner, but as another constituent living within these city boundaries, please reach out to me, and I would like to support you. I like to see and ensure that groups do get supported. Individual people do get supported. Mr. Killebrew, have I not reached out to you before?
Yeah.
I would very much like to hear.
It's either a yes or a no, sir.
The answer to that question is yes. Matter of fact,
Because I wanted to ensure you got what you needed, so you could understand what you were looking for. That is the personality I have and the type of person I am. This committee, is what we're here to do and be for you when it comes to the Parks Department. And that's what I got for y'all.
your intentions are good, okay, but however, there's been some problematic issues over time, and I've been dealing with the Parks Department since 2018, and there's things that have been documented, and amongst those that have been documented, what Mr. Webb brought up earlier around the email, and I was just reviewing that. The tone of the email at the end, it said there will be no further communication around this. So when I read that I wasn't sure how I should follow through, because the tone of the non-transparency. If I had sent in a document, why it was problematic. There was no communication around the fact that we had an issue with opening up the PDF. Maybe I could read it again. But the fact is that and it wasn't my first time trying to communicate and be heard here. So it's been a pattern over the last few years of me having trouble getting in front of the board. And even when I have been here, there's things have been tabled. I've been having to come back. So that's I've recently requested to be on the agenda. And I have a long list of questions because over the years they've just continued to pile up. As far as what happened, it's over now. But when I was operating as a vendor, the fact is, according to the Parks Department records, since 2009, 2018, between those years, the only other vendor who had been at Elm Park was the Elm Park food truck. However, if you speak to people in the community, and when I first applied to be a vendor here, he had been there for 20 or 30 years. So when I look at the other vendors and I ask who else are these things happening to, it seems to be that it's me.
Here's the other thing.
I would like to add on from
Okay.
what they just said, which is the way we would be able to determine this is what I originally asked for, which is better numbers and record keeping, like Worcester Police Department is being forced to. You guys would know whether or not this issue has happened, rather than trusting your gut instincts and looking at whatever you can look at. The reason I ask for this is because the number of times, and I was going to string together a 2-minute video of you guys not answering things with various legitimate excuses. And what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of different ways to say no without saying no. And when it comes to demonstrating information and records, we don't have that written down, is something you guys say often, which should bother you.
So, anybody else want to take it, or do you want me to finish off?
Natalie, you're a rock star.
Listen, Mr. Webb, I do not understand how I can get this across to you. We only deal with rules and regulations. That's it. That's all.
But then where are they? Why are so many people asking about them?
The other thing is, yes, there definitely is a huge gap between what is going on and what we have for rules and regulations. I want to say one thing before I go anywhere else with this. Mr. Killebrew, I want to say thank you, because we have had some changes with the rules and regulations and clarity when it comes to those applications because of you bringing those issues before us. I'm not sure if I've said this before, but I will say it here on the record in front of everybody on a recorded tape. Thank you for bringing those here, because a lot of times the questions that the general public have, the issues that the general public have, I have as well as a private citizen, with the things that go on and what is clear and what is not clear. We don't always see everything that goes on. We are here to ensure that these rules and regulations are fair to each and every person here, a constituency, whomever it may be, somebody out of town, and that it is clearly laid out for you. And I have seen, from the time I've been on this board since 2021 to now, that some of these things slowly but surely have been changing. And Mr. Webb, what else were you talking about? So I do want to say, once again, thank you, Mr. Killebrew, for bringing up the issues that you have, because they have affected change along the way.
The amount of times this commission, and specifically Antonelli, has avoided responsibility or accountability by not having something documented or recorded,
So
or specifically written.
right there, Mr. Webb, you said our accountability. Like I said before,
We talked
our
about this
accountability,
briefly. Accountability has changed based on previous information.
Our accountability is the rules and regulations. A lot of your accountability issues are with a personnel issue with Mr. Antonelli. And I have said before, multiple times, that those issues that you have personnel-wise that are not being met need to be addressed with the commissioner of the DPW and with the city manager. There is nothing here that we as the Parks Commission can do about personnel issues.
I think if you review the documents included with last week, it had a
Like
lot
I
of things that
said,
you guys can do
We
differently.
cannot.
So
We
these are
deal
mentality-
with rules and regulations. That's it, not
you deal-
personnel.
So the way you apply those or think about those uses thought processes, and you can avoid using either or thinking and power hoarding or paternalism as a general default.
We don't have any power over personnel. That is what I'm trying to tell you. So we can't power hoard something we don't have.
You are aware that everyone comes here to ask you guys for permission, right?
Permission for the parks.
Do you think that's power?
Permission for the parks, not permission over personnel issues. Your issues are mostly personnel issues.
talking about your power.
Your issues are mostly personnel issues. It's not with the regulations or on how the parks are run. It's on a personnel issue and how they're carried out.
No, it's
Those
not
are
just
two
that.
separate
That's
things,
what I'm
sir.
trying to explain, is that people who are not acutely aware of the tenets of white supremacy and actively making a difference to be mindful of it are susceptible to society and what it has trained into many of us, and that every single person, unless, I don't know, I guess what I'm really trying to ask is that you all be mindful, but obviously that is way unreasonable of a request, and as you have many times assured me, outside of your purview.
Here's the thing. We can keep going back and forth about this, but we're going to have the same answer for you.
Because we're not talking about accountability.
You need to talk to the department commissioner, the
Well, with all due
DPW
respect.
commissioner. That's his immediate supervisor. His director would be the city manager.
So the reason I'm coming to you
The city
guys.
council cannot even get involved in any personnel issues. The only thing they're allowed to do is write the job descriptions and dole out the money.
I was here 2 years ago when we didn't search for a new city manager. I understand Antonelli's been here 26 years because of how many different times I've seen middle-aged white business owners talk about it. I'm not trying to say that you should fire Antonelli because that's stupid. If the city was going to admit that they'd put someone wrong in power, they would have done it at one point with one of the other people over the past 5 to 10 years. The only way change actually happens in the city is by enough people saying, hey, this is a problem. Now, the reason I'm here saying it isn't because I think I'm the first person noticing it. It's because you guys are that written, because I'm really good with, excuse my language, sorry, with worshiping the written word, because I can handle your email games. That's the reason I'm here. That's the reason we're talking about this when it took Jeff Killebrew so many different times to be told we didn't know you wanted to be on the agenda.
So first and foremost, you always address the issues that you have with Mr. Antonelli as it's Mr. Antonelli and us are one. We're not. We're not. We're two separate entities. And you feel that
Accountability will never be
Excuse me,
reached
sir, I
with
need
that
to
attitude.
finish. Excuse me. Let me finish this point, and then we can move on to the next thing. Mr. Antonelli is the city. We are the volunteers. We are two separate entities. He represents the city. We represent the public. That's it. That's all. Be upset, but that's all it is.
Next item, new business. Agenda items must be submitted 3 business days before each commission meeting with the subject line agenda item to parks@worcesterma.gov. The next item is a request of Mr. David Webb. The video from the last meeting wasn't posted for about a week, and it has historically taken longer for parks meetings to be posted to the city site rather than other municipal public meetings. What is the cause for the delay? There is a cable services division that handles the broadcast.
I'm not asking
and
who's
recording.
responsible.
Okay. We can't answer that question, though, for you.
We don't upload we don't upload the video.
If you like, we could make up an answer for you.
Madam Chair, I can at least give some guidance on that.
It's okay. I'll figure it out through public records. Thank you.
If you, excuse me, through the chair, Mr. Antonelli, please still give us guidance for the records purposes.
Through the chair, so what ends up happening is that the video is taped here, brought back down to City Hall, but it is a staffing/priority issue of how many staff they may have or who may be available to do that upload for the next day. The majority of it, they're trying to do it as quickly as possible, but there are some times where it does lag just due to staffing and resources.
Thank you. I agree.
If there's no other business, we could have a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I second.
We have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Cacciaroni,
Yes.
Commissioner Darty,
Yes.
Commissioner Guthieri,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaro,
Yes.